kind of popped onto the scene, which is, wow, like maybe these guys can be shockingly competitive. Competitive in a sense that I find shocking.
We're already at the point where we're changing our expectations for them this year.
Yeah, and we had Ty Dunn sort of, I thought, wait, are we done? I want to talk more. That's it? I got to go? I don't have to go home, but I can't stay here? I got it. Understand that. Love that expression. Also, great song from the 90s. Maybe the 2000s. I don't know. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks to Ty Dunn. Thanks to D-Cell. Appreciate you. I'm Bill Ryder. We'll see you back here tomorrow on CBS Sports Radio.
The new era of Thursday Night Football is here, and it's only on Prime Video. This Thursday, two of the NFL's biggest talents face off when Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins head to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the defending AFC champion Bengals. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with TNF Tonight, delivered by Little Caesars. Not an Amazon Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game. It's the Dolphins and the Bengals, only on Prime Video. See Amazon.com/watchtnf for details.
Is your check engine light on? Do not ignore it. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today and let their professional parts people scan your vehicle for free. They will retrieve the codes, discuss possible solutions, and even help you find a professional technician if necessary. For check engine light diagnosis and repair advice, or the right tools and repair parts, get everything you need from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. The professional parts people you can trust.
Tired and sluggish? Down in the dumps? Or do you just have the blahs? Well, maybe you need to hydrate. Revive Health and Wellness offers IV hydration, which can help you with lack of energy, improve your mood, assist with immunity, and even fix a hangover. Call today to set up an appointment at 350-1805. Locally owned and operated by Samantha Casper, Revive Health and Wellness has a new location and is ready to serve you. Stop by at 2459 Emerald Place in Greenville or go online at revivehealthwellness.org.
Flight by Yuengling. It's the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yuengling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yuengling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yuengling & Son Incorporated, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
I can't think of anyone who doesn't love a clean car, but how often do you actually go to the car wash? Does it take too long, or maybe it's just not a very nice place? Tommy's Express changes everything. Our wash is bright, inviting, clean, and fast.
I love the flat conveyor belt. So easy to pull onto, much smoother ride, and safer for my car.
And when you join Tommy Club, you can wash as often as you like for one low monthly price.
I save money and time.
We're Tommy's Express.
At the corner of Greenville Boulevard and Red Banks Road, Greenville.
Country Mart has been locally owned and operated for over 40 years and is your premier country store serving the best cheese biscuits and country food around. Country Mart is open every day and has 2 locations in Bethel on Highway 11 and in Stokes on Highway 903. Both Country Mart locations are top-of-the-line fuel stations serving Shell gas, including 93 ethanol-free high-octane gas, which is the best for all you boat owners. Country Mart, fueling you up with great food in your engines with great gasoline. Go Pirates.
Here today with Jeff Stein from Brown & Wood. Hey Jeff, how's inventory going?
Inventory levels are increasing. For the first time in over 45 days, we have Mazdas in stock, Buick in stock, Cadillac in stock, and GMC in stock. I highly encourage the customer to go to gmc.com, build and price their vehicle, share that with Brown & Wood, and let us place your order. We need some price protection for these customers, and you got to place an order to have that.
Brown & Wood, your #1 dealership in Greenville, and the home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You've worked hard to make your business successful, and that's why it's really important to always have a bank in your corner when you need them. This is former ECU baseball player Ashley Capps from First Bank, and our experienced team of local bankers includes Lee Watson, Bonner Latham, Chris Richards, Josh Hooten, and Heath Nisbet. To get the business services that are right for your business today, come and see someone on our team at First Bank on Arlington Boulevard here in Greenville. First Bank, together with our customers, we're creating a world where individuals and communities thrive.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Will the you of tomorrow be happy with the you of today? It all depends on the decisions the you of today makes. For instance, the you of today has an excellent career opportunity with Delcor Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. The pay is great, very competitive with other HVAC companies. Plus, you could get a $1,500 sign-on bonus. The you of tomorrow will enjoy some time away because Delcor also offers paid vacation. Most HVAC companies don't. And since the you of today has some experience, Delcor might just hire you on the spot.
Delcor is hiring 12 experienced HVAC and plumbing professionals immediately. You must have a valid driver's license, ability and desire to work, and legally eligible to work in the U.S. Delcor offers a sign-on bonus up to $1,500, plus one of the best benefits packages in the industry, including health insurance, paid vacation, and retirement options. Learn more at DelcorInc.com. That's DelcoRinc.com.
The you of tomorrow will thank the you of today for getting a job at Delcor. Delcor is an equal opportunity employer.
This is Pirate Radio, WGHB Farmville, 1250 and 92.7 FM Greenville, WDLX Washington, 930 and 104.1 FM Washington. The following is an exclusive presentation of Pirate Radio, the voice of the pirate nation. This is Eastern Carolina's longest-running sports radio show. The Brian Bailey Show is on the air. The Brian Bailey Show is powered by Greenville Utilities and also brought to you by
Angus Grill, Bostic Sugg Furniture, Bojangles, East Coast Grading, Papa John's, Pepsi, The Rick House, Greenville Utilities, BMS Builders, Seared Chop House, The Gavigan Agency, Taft and Hagler, Tiebreakers, and Greenville Auto World.
And now, here's Brian Bailey.
All right, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into our show. We're kicking off your sports week, and it could be a wild sports week with a hurricane bearing down on Florida as we speak. Of course, the Pirates are scheduled to play coming up at USF on Saturday. That game right now looks to be in doubt, and people are meeting and trying to decide what they're going to do, waiting on the hurricane, that kind of thing. We're going to revisit the Navy loss. Navy beats East Carolina 23-20, so the Pirates have still never beaten the Middies in Greenville. That game went double overtime. Tripp Weaver is the safeties coach at East Carolina. He's got a long history with the Pirates, a long successful history with East Carolina. He's going to join us to revisit the Navy game and talk about the Bulls and the Pirates to come. This is the Brian Bailey Show on this Monday, and we'll kick it all off for you coming up after this.
East Coast Grading and Utilities is your source for clearing, hauling dirt, and concrete work. East Coast Grading and Utilities handles all sewer and water issues as well.
I'm David Vaughn. Whether putting in a new subdivision or helping you with any and all of your drainage problems, I can get the job done. Call me at 531-7494.
No job is too big or too small. East Coast Grading and Utilities. Friends helping friends. 531-7494 for East Coast Grading and Utilities.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, you know why we're here. The football season is back! Woo! That means those pregame barbecues with an ice-cold Pepsi? Totally back. Your perfectly placed football watching corner seat back and comfy as ever. 18 Sundays of touchdown scoring, Hail Mary throwing, ice-cold Pepsi flowing football action. You better believe it's back. And since that's too amazing to miss a single second's worth, Pepsi is officially giving you permission to always put football first. And when we say always, we mean always. Like when your lawn is looking less like a lawn and more like a jungle. If the game's on, then the lawnmower ain't. And those gutters you haven't cleaned, today is not their day. Or maybe those in-laws are back in town. Well, better hope they're football fans because your Sunday is completely booked. Long story short, crack open a Pepsi and don't let anything get between you and your football watching. With love, Pepsi, made for football watching. That's what I like.
The Angus Grill is your premier spot for the best burgers, cheesesteaks, and brisket sandwiches around. Join us for our unmatched variety of burger combinations. From the mushroom bacon Swiss burger to the jalapeno popper burger to the original Angus classic. Pair that burger with our amazing onion rings, tots, fries, or sweet potato fries. Angus Grill, with 4 amazing locations in eastern North Carolina, including Winterville near Pitt Community College, on Jarvis Street in uptown Greenville, and on Statensburg Road near the hospital. It's the best burger around, guaranteed.
This is John Gavigan with the Gavigan Agency. Our top priority is doing what is best for our members. Whether you are buying a new vehicle, a new home, protecting your family with life insurance, or filing a claim, our agency will be there every step of the way. Our goal is to become a trusted advisor for you and your family for all of your personal and commercial insurance needs. Give us a call in Greenville at 756-1400 for a car, home, business, or life insurance quote today, and give us the opportunity to show you the benefits of doing business with someone who cares.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville, do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best. Everybody loves burgers.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, providing reliable utility solutions to the Greenville region since 1905. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back on this Monday. Tripp Weaver, safeties coach at East Carolina, our good friend, is going to join us to revisit the Navy loss and get us ready for what we hope is more college football for the Pirates this weekend as the Pirates travel down to Tampa, Florida to take on the Bulls of USF. But Coach Weaver, first of all, welcome to the show. Sorry it's not on the better circumstances. It was one tough game on Saturday, wasn't it?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, it really was. You know, the guys put a lot of effort into the game plan. The coaches did too, and you know, that's college football. You know, football's the ultimate team game, and a lot of plays we wish we could have back in all phases of the game. But the good thing about football is you got to get moving on to the next week because there's no rest for the weary.
What have they said so far about the trip to Tampa, if anything? Because I know there's got to be a lot of meetings. Everybody's waiting to see what the storm does. I mean, it's really complicated. And East Carolina's game is not the only one in Florida coming up this week. There are a slew of games. But is it one of those situations you just have to wait and see?
Well, you know what, Brian? I wish I was like one of these gurus that could get on these interviews and tell you that I got my hands in everything. But that's a little above my pay grade. You know, we got in here this morning about 5 a.m., and we've been rolling on South Florida, and I'm trying to figure out how to stop the quarterback and the two great receivers they got coming back this week. And I'll be honest with you, I don't care where we play it. We're just getting ready for it.
You know, and it's just unfortunate that, you know, it's so complicated anyway, trying to get this and get that and that kind of thing, but to have a storm brewing out there that you have to kind of figure, you know, what you're going to do with it. But when you look back at the Navy game, what were some of the things that you saw on film? As you said, some things we'd like to have back, but what did you see on film?
When you watch it on film, you know, I thought the guys went out and tried to execute the plan that we had for them. You know, I thought on the sideline the guys were great. I thought their mentality was great. You know, throughout the game, you know, pushing to make that next play. You know, as I watched it, there was times you were really, really proud of the individual effort of some guys, and then the team effort of some guys, and then there's times, you know, you wish you could sit back there and every position, you know, on the team, offense, defense, special teams, you know, we all have things we wish we'd have done a little bit better, and that's what you got to do in this league. You know, this league is a Power 5 conference, whether we want to admit it or not, and a lot of good teams in this league. And every week you got to be at the top of your game. Otherwise, you know, what happened last week, you know, can happen to any team any week.
You know, when you look at the option, and we talk so much about it, but it looked like Navy ran a whole lot of different plays, like traps and angled type of runs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, we talked about it after the game. You know, we felt like coming in that we may get some different things from Navy. Coach Mart does a great job with those guys. There's a lot of respect between the two staffs, and we actually got more of what you see when those guys play Army and Air Force. And when they play those guys, you know, they're used to the options. So they do a bunch of crazy things, different formations, different plays. And, you know, matter of fact, I know you saw a bunch of the shotgun plays that they were running versus us. I mean, that's all the stuff that you see when the academies play each other. And so we prepared for that all week. We knew we'd get some different stuff. You know, you can practice all you want, but they always have something different. On the sideline, I thought our coaches and our players did a great job just really adjusting to the new things that we saw. Yeah, it was a wild game plan, and they did a lot of things we thought they would, and it was a lot. I thought our guys handled it really well.
Yeah, I know the Pirate coaches, they're not making any excuses, but it is ironic, and Coach Houston brought it up last week, that Navy, for the third time in 4 tries against East Carolina, has had a week to prepare, had a week off before the game. And, not that that's any kind of an excuse, but when you look at having to play a team and you get an extra week, that's a huge advantage, isn't it?
It definitely is, and you can dive into some things more. You can get some guys healthy that may have been banged up, and I'll tell you the other thing, early on in the season, teams, progress weeks 1 through 4, a lot. And it's going to be a different team, Navy team, week 7, than that showed up even versus us, because those guys do such a great job up there. And it really gives you that time to keep honing in on fundamentals and figuring out what you're good at. It's one thing to do it in camp. It's another thing to do it against live competition. So, getting them earlier in the year is helpful. But not really when it's after a bye week, because those guys, you can tell they did a great job, kind of rallying the troops and so to speak, and getting those guys playing hard. And, I thought they executed really well. I thought fundamentally they played very, very well. Turnover-wise, there were some balls that ended up on the ground and didn't bounce our way. But just things that good football teams do, they did that. And, hats off to those guys. And like I said, congratulations to them, and time for us to move on to South Florida.
Yeah, and you think about Navy football, and the way to beat Navy is you get them to force a turnover against the midshipmen, and they did a good job protecting the football, and really you could see some different things. They were a much different team than I think what you guys saw in the film on those first 2 games. I mean, they were a lot better, I think, than a lot of us expected. But Coach Houston had warned all week that this is a good football team coming here. Nehemiah Lolo has been there so long, had so much success with that Navy program, and that whole deal is just a different entity of how they play college football and the things that they're able to do. And it was really, I think they're great for the league. I think having Navy is really a great addition to the American and a great asset to the American Athletic Conference, but it doesn't make it any easier on you coaches, does it?
No, it doesn't, and they like you said, they do a great job. He's done a phenomenal job. He's been there, I think, 20 years as an assistant, as a head coach. And they're always innovative, and they keep it pushing. To the average eye, it'll look like they just run the ball every play, but I tell you what, they run the ball really well, and teams that win can run the football and play defense, and that formula's worked for a long time, and people have tried to change that formula, and people keep coming back to it, and so that's why they've had a lot of sustained success. But yeah, just a hard-fought game. Really felt bad for the players. As coaches, you kind of try to put them in the best situation to win, and those guys gave it everything they had. And just got to find a way as a team to make a couple more plays here and there.
Taking your questions and comments on our Facebook Live feed, and we had a question coming in about some of the adjustments. What kind of adjustments did you guys look at halftime?
At halftime, they had given us some formational things, some end-over stuff that were a little bit different than maybe we had practiced. Thought we did a nice job with that. They gave us a few plays that we hadn't seen on tape, some things that really I hadn't seen since I was coaching at the Citadel and then coaching at Western Carolina versus the Citadel, when you go against those option guys every year and then working with those option guys. So, there were some plays that came up, and a lot of it, an example being, the safeties read. One guy, that guy split across formation, ends up being the fitter. Sean Dorsow made a great play on it. Another time it was Jaira Wilson made a good play on it. There's just, a lot of intricacies in that. They did have some things that they ran, like you said earlier, just some trap things that they did. Little things such as the path of the fullback. It's different. A midline trap and a regular trap are different. And just getting those guys' footwork correct and alignments correct and all that, it's a lot that goes into it. At one point in time, I was writing on the back of, I think, our sign that hides our signalers. We had a 30-second timeout just to try to get as much information out there as we could. So there's really too many to go through. It's really every drive. But, it was a fun game for a coach to be a part of, just schematically to kind of test your wits.
And some of those angled runs, and sometimes you see high school teams try to do that. What is the advantage of coming into a hole at a different angle?
Football's about angles. Obviously, running the football is about angles and leveraging the formation. As a defense, you always try to obviously have an edge and then leverage the runs. And, the offense is trying to do the exact opposite. They're trying to leverage you so they have leverage on the runs. And just some of the angles, like you're talking about, some of the hand back things that they did, really what looks like the front side of the play is actually the back side of the play. And so, those linebackers get ear-holed by tackles that have great alignment on them. And then it comes down to the third-level defenders having to fit off of that and see that correctly. And if they don't, all of a sudden, they break a 70, 80-yard run, and it really could just be one guy that messes it up. And, the other 10 can do it right. So that's why this game's so stressful, from a defensive perspective, and especially against a team like them with the older quarterback Ty Lavitide does a great job there, and he obviously operates the system very well. So, you're on pins and needles every snap.
Big question now is how did the team come back on Sunday? I know you guys usually take Mondays off, so you get back together on Sunday, looking at film, doing a little light workout. Your heavy work usually is Tuesdays and Wednesday. But how did the team come back? What's the mood of that team right now?
Well, obviously everybody's disappointed, in this game, and I know you guys have 7 days to sit there and talk about it till we go play again, and the fortunate thing for us is it's a 24-hour rule. Whether you win, whether you lose, once we get back on that field and watch that film, Coach Houston preaches that, hey, it's on to the next one, and obviously there's things we wish we could do differently, as a defensive staff and all that, but. You don't have time to dwell on that. You watch the film, you write down your notes and corrections for the next year, and then you got to move on to South Florida. I thought the guys went out on the field. I thought they attacked it. I thought their energy was great. They were pretty banged up from the game. Some of those guys pushing through and just really giving great energy and effort to show some of these younger guys like, hey, we're not waiting around. We're ready to move on to the next. So just really, really proud of them. Very fortunate to coach the guys that we coach, and looking forward to see what they do on Tuesday.
Tripp Weaver, our guest, ECU safeties coach at East Carolina. As he said, you got to move on, so that's exactly what we will do. South Florida is on the clock. Of course, we've talked about it a couple of times, hurricane bearing down on the state of Florida, so that game very much, I don't know if you want to say it's in doubt, but we're not quite sure what's going to happen as far as that game is concerned, but you got to prepare for it just like you're going to play it as normal. So we'll take a commercial break right now. We'll come back more with Coach Weaver, more of your questions and comments on our Facebook Live page. This is the Brian Bailey Show on a Monday after this.
Hi, this is Jeff Charles, and this is a Pirate Radio Sports Break presented by Ron Ayers Motorsports, Highway 11, north of the airport in Greenville. The Panthers posted their first win of the season yesterday with a 22-14 victory over the Saints. Christian McCaffrey, 25 carries for 108 yards. Carolina had lost 9 in a row. The Washington Commanders lost to the Eagles 24-8. The 1-1 Cowboys are in New York tonight at 8:15 to take on the 2-0 Giants. You can hear the game right here on Pirate Radio. The Cleveland Guardians have won the American League Central Division. A 10-4 win yesterday over the Rangers has Cleveland in the postseason. The Orioles lost to the Astros 6-3 in 11 innings. The Braves got by the Phillies 8-7 in 11 innings. Ronald Acuna Jr., the game-winning RBI. Carl Schwarber had 2 home runs for the Fightin' Phils. He has 42 on the year. Sunday night baseball, the Yankees shut out the Red Sox 2-0 in a 6-inning rain-shortened game. Aaron Judge is still sitting on 60 home runs. This has been a Pirate Radio Sports Break.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelch and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop.
Hey Pirate Nation, this is Amanda Houston, and when it came time to make the game-winning play for relaxation at our house, I made the right call to Jamie Lang and Carolina Hardscapes. Jamie and his team built the backyard oasis of our dreams with a beautiful custom paver patio, outdoor lighting, and fireplace. Make your backyard incredible and call Carolina Hardscapes today at 364-1201 or visit their showroom on Fire Tower Road across from Bostic Suck. Go Pirates!
ASAP Party and Tent Rentals is your one-stop shop for weddings, anniversaries, corporate events, family reunions, birthday parties, or any celebration with friends and family. ASAP Party and Tent Rentals has the widest selection of tents, tables, chairs, linens, china, concession equipment, bounce rides, games, staging, wedding equipment, dance floors, and so much more. At ASAP Party and Tent Rentals, we help people get together. Call today at 756-7903. ASAP Party and Tent Rentals, locally owned and operated on Diamond Drive in Greenville near Agri-Supply and Equipment Plus.
Greenville Utilities electric customers will soon be able to receive text notifications in the event of power outages. Enrollment is automatic, so make sure GUC has your cell phone number by signing into your account at GUC.com, then update the information in your user profile. Want to talk with someone instead? Call 252-752-7166 during business hours. 252-752-7166. Update us so we can update you. Visit GUC.com for more information.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community owned, community powered. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Getting word that the Tulane game is a 3:30 start for East Carolina on ESPNU. So write that down, Tulane, 3:30. And that is about 2 weeks away now. Tulane and East Carolina, 3:30 kickoff from New Orleans in the Big Easy, coming up October the 8th. Up first for East Carolina, that matchup with South Florida. Joining us from his office over at East Carolina is Tripp Weaver. We're going to talk about Coach Weaver's coaching career for a little bit in just a few minutes. Before we totally get away from the Navy game, Coach, what did you guys see on the Elijah Morris targeting call? And is there any chance you get back to the American to say, because I thought it was a horrible call. Coach Houston really didn't comment on camera about it, but I don't know. I think we leave that game still wondering what exactly is targeting, because Holton Ahlers took a hit or two that had to be targeting that didn't even get looked at, and Elijah gets this huge sack, which was a huge play and probably the biggest play in the first half, and it turns into a penalty. When you lose him for the whole game. You get him back for South Florida. But what did you guys see in the film?
Yeah, well, first off, I hate it for Elijah. You know, he's just the epitome of what you want in a player. You know, comes to work every day, works his tail off, and because of that, you know, he is one of our best defensive players. And arguably against that team, you know, one of our best defensive guys, especially up front. You know, so that was a big loss for us. You know, I'm going to take a book from Coach Houston for a long time, but you know, I'm not going to comment too much on that as far as it comes with the American officials. I do know that we did send that clip in, and I know Coach Houston, you know, gets to talk with the head of officials every week just on some plays that you send in defensively or special teams or offensively, and you know, we'll be looking forward to having that kind of explained to us so we can coach these guys up and you know, try to avoid that, because you're exactly right. Instead of them being pinned down there and possibly punting off their own goal line, you know, it gives them a first down and flips the field position, and you know, against those guys, that's a big deal. So, yeah, I'll kind of deflect that question.
I don't blame you.
Coach Houston on that.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. It's just one of those deals that when you're watching it live and you think, what a great sack. I mean, this is football. I mean, this is not basketball or baseball. This is football. You're going to get tackled. And it looks to me like the quarterback kind of ducked his head and then ran into Elijah's helmet somehow. And then when they reviewed it, I thought, I was standing there right beside the review official, and I thought for sure they were going to overturn it. But it was one of the biggest plays, probably, as I said, the biggest play of the first half, and you hate it for a guy like that. And as you said, you know, here's a run stopper. You know, here's a guy that you know is going to play well against a team like Navy because he thrives on that kind of thing. He's been such a great player in this Pirate program, and then all of a sudden, you know, not only gets a penalty, he's ejected for a phantom targeting call. And it just, I tell you another thing, and you may not be able to comment on this either, but Coach Houston was in the officials' ears a couple of times. It seemed like when the play went away from Holton that Navy took a shot or two, a cheap shot or two on the quarterback. And, you know, and you don't expect that out of a Navy football team, but I know it happened, and I know Coach was all in an official's ear. That poor guy on the sideline of East Carolina was that, man. I don't think he slept that night. I mean, he took it.
Well, you know, one thing, you know, say what you want about Coach Houston, but he's always going to defend his players.
Yeah.
And any time that he feels that, you know, a player is wronged or something maybe didn't go the way that he saw it, you know, when it involves one of our players, you know, he's going to let them know about it, because ultimately that's our job as coaches, to protect those guys. You know, but that's part of being the head coach is you know, dealing with the referees and talking with those guys. And you know, I think he does a pretty dang good job of that, especially, you know, when it comes to protecting our guys. Yeah, you know, tough deal. And, you know, we all saw the same plays you're talking about. And I know those plays have been sent in, so I know Coach will get that explanation from the head of officials from the American Conference.
I mean, it's fascinating down there when you see some of the stuff that's happening, because the cameras don't capture it, and and that's part of the things about being when you're at a game and your set of eyes can look wherever you want to look. You're not limited to whatever the camera sees, and you see a whole lot and you hear a whole lot on that sideline. That's been one of my favorite things to do in my 38-year career at WNCT, is being right there on the sideline and hearing some of the sounds of football and just some of the issues that come up after that. But Coach Houston was absolutely livid about some of those things that went on in that game. All right, let's turn to South Florida for a little bit right now and look at the Bulls. They had a really good game against the Florida Gators. I think they missed a field goal late that would have tied it. That was down at the Swamp. They lose by a field goal. Then they come back against Louisville, and Louisville absolutely manhandled them. What do you see on tape from the Bulls?
Well, first off, what you're going against is a team that's familiar with you. It's a team that's been in the conference and going in our third year of playing them, and Coach Scott being the head coach down there. What the fans, they see the scores and they don't maybe see the inner workings of why the scores were what they were. You go and you play the University of Florida at the Swamp, and Patrick Toney is one of the most well thought of defensive coordinators in the country, coming from Louisiana Lafayette the year before. And he allows a 100-yard rusher in Brian Battie, and then he allows another 100-yard rusher from Bohannon, the quarterback. And really those guys, are driving down to win that football game and just had a couple mishaps there late, and really going to be the top 25 team, in the Swamp and one of the hardest places to play. They have two receivers, Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn, who are just phenomenal players. And, those guys are, Jimmy Horn is a guy that, has a kickoff return for a touchdown. He averages right now, I think it's something like 65 yards total a game. And Brian Battie's 154 a game. And Xavier Weaver's 93 yards a game. He also does punt returns. And then they go play Louisville, and what people don't see is they lose, their left tackle, during the game. Xavier Weaver is sidelined. Jimmy Horn is sidelined. So a lot of these guys that are very, very explosive players didn't play in that game. And we all know as fans and as coaches that, when you lose your top guys, all of a sudden those calls don't work quite as good. The unfortunate thing for us is those guys are all going to be back this week. And we fully anticipate them being back. They got a stable of backs. We talked about Brian Battie, but, they got Michael Dukes, who's a backup that, was a Clemson transfer. And I don't know how far how much you follow Clemson. They don't miss on running backs. Those guys are pretty dang good. Jaron Mangum played against us last year, had a good day. Broke a long run going in towards the Murphy Center for a touchdown on a 4th and 1. So, we're playing a team now that's a very, very good football team and one that we're going to have to go battle. And Brian Brown, this is no knock on him, the defensive coordinator at Louisville. He's phenomenal. He's just like Patrick Toney, another guy that's, kind of top of his field and, maybe got them when they weren't quite full speed. And, for us at East Carolina, we're going to get those guys back. So, it's going to be a challenge. I wouldn't look too much into that Louisville score.
We'll talk more about South Florida as we continue on with Tripp Weaver. Tripp, you started at East Carolina as a student assistant with Coach Holtz and with Coach McNeil. What were those days like? And did you think back then that you'd be the safeties coach under Mike Houston at East Carolina, your alma mater?
Absolutely not. And first off, I'll say it's, God looks after babies and fools, and I'm not a baby anymore. So I'm very fortunate. The people that have helped me get here and the people that give me the opportunity to be here, and then now that I'm here, the people that, embraced me back. And when I say embrace me, I was the lowest of the low on the totem pole, when I started out. So I'm just extremely grateful, for Coach Houston and John Gilbert for allowing me to stay employed. And first, I just want to get that out the way. No, I never thought that. When I came up, Coach Houston actually got me in contact with Harold Robinson to come up here and volunteer because I wanted to be a high school coach. And that's what I wanted to do. I was going to teach PE. I wasn't going to teach anything else. I don't know that I was smart enough for that. But I was going to teach PE, and I was going to be a ball coach, and I was going to go back to teach Robertson High School. And, that's what I was going to do. And once Ruff found out I was about to graduate, he asked me my plans, and I told him I was going to go be a high school coach, like he was down in Lumberton. And, he sat me down in his office, and he kind of dared me to dream bigger. And he really talked me into being a GA. As a GA, you don't make any money. I was a full Pell Grant guy, so it's not like I had a bunch of money coming back from home to keep me on my feet. Fortunately for me, my wife, who's an East Carolina graduate, just got her first teaching job at Eastern Elementary School. So, if you can imagine that, an elementary school teacher in her first year was the breadwinner, and it wasn't even close. I stuck around. I did it for 2 years, and I absolutely loved it. We had a lot of success, and then, about that time, I'm getting ready to go into our third year, which, we thought was going to be pretty special that year. The year that, Shane and them went down and played Florida in the Birmingham Bowl was the year that I left.
All right.
Coach Houston called and offers me a job, paying me next to no money to coach the outside linebackers at the Citadel. And I didn't even have to think about it. I called Ruff and did the right thing there. I said, Coach, I want to do this. And, his exact response to me was, sometimes you have to leave so you can come back. Because, once you get to East Carolina, you don't really want to leave. And so went down there. We had success. I slept in the office for the first 6 months because we couldn't afford to live in Charleston on the salary.
I bet.
And, Coach Houston helped me out that next year. And then, we take off and go to James Madison. And, one of the most bittersweet things was coming down here at JMU and all my friends, show up. I must have had 20 people here. And, they were all East Carolina fans. So after the game, I was excited to see them, and they were pretty down. JMU had won the game.
Yeah.
They weren't real happy to see me. And then went to Western Carolina, and then, when Coach Houston got this job, I was excited for the university because I knew the type of staff that he had. I knew the vision he had, and I knew the kind of coach he was. And, as a fan of East Carolina, I knew he'd bring it back. And then, we were in such a dismal shape there for a while, and I knew that was the guy for the job. So I was just really elated for him. Fast forward a year, Coach makes some changes, and, he gave me a call, and I was driving down to South Georgia. And I was about halfway down. It was about an 8-hour ride from where I was driving from to go see a recruit at Western Carolina. And he calls me halfway down. I'd gone down a day early like I always do. And he says, hey, I want to meet with you in Greensboro about this job. And, I said, yes, sir. And I immediately turned around and I drove up there. And we met for a while. We talked ball for a while. And, he said, all right, well, let's talk about this job. And before he told me the salary, I said, Coach, before you tell me, I say yes, I want the job. And so, from that point on, man, I've just been fortunate, blessed, grateful, lucky, whatever you want to call it, to be back at East Carolina. And I coach a great group of guys, and I work with a great group of guys, on all sides of the football. We have great coaches in this program, and just excited to keep trying to push this place forward. So just extremely grateful. And long story short, no, I never thought I'd be back here as a safeties coach, and really grateful for the opportunity.
That's an awesome story. My next question is, what did you do as a student assistant under Skip and Coach Ruff? What were some of your duties?
So when I first got up here for Coach Holtz, it was literally I was the do boy. It was, hey, go get the towels for the coach's locker room, and that's how I started out. And then Coach Ruff gets the job, and I think I got to draw some things in the scouting report for Coach Smith and Coach Hargraves. One of my biggest things is Coach Smith let me draw the scout cards that first year with him before they took off to South Florida. I got to learn football and sitting here and watching tape. One of the biggest blessings I had was John Gutekunst actually came in when Coach Rock got sick, and Coach Goody had been a head coach at Minnesota, a great football mind, and he was living in the office like I was as a student. So, we stay up here till 12, 1, 2 in the morning just talking football. Just those guys on that first staff just investing the time into me, just extremely grateful. I actually talked to Coach Hargraves this morning. He's at Howard now. They had played South Florida early in the year. But, those guys treated me great. I worked hard and, didn't get paid anything. But you know what? They treated me great. And I'm really appreciative of them. With Coach Ruff, as you get into year 2, 3, and 4 of being a student coach, you kind of learn the ropes. And honestly, those guys, Coach Ruff treated me more like a full-time guy than a slappy is what we call him.
Yeah.
And he really treated me well. And, Brian Mitchell and Rick Smith, who ended up coming back, and John Wiley and those guys, Dwayne Price, Mark Yellock. Those guys, they were great to me. Let me sit in all the meetings and have opinions. And, even my opinions were wrong. When you're young, you think you know everything. And the older you get, you realize you don't. They would show me why. So just, extremely grateful for them. But it was anything from checking roll at the meals on the bus to getting towels to drawing scout cards to making sure the input was right. And then, as it progressed on, as I was a GA, I got a chance to, coach the corners for a year and then coach the safeties for a year. So it was great. And from top to bottom, I've done everything from video equipment to, to coaching. So you know, I've got some experience in all of the above. So if something ever happens to me, I can always go back down there and work.
You know, it's funny you say video equipment, because I'm sure, you know, from the time you started as a student assistant, all that video equipment has changed so much because all the technology has changed, and everybody does things a different way now, don't they?
Oh, they do. And, you know, you have whole video departments and you have whole recruiting departments.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I first started up here, you know, Donnie DK still had VHS tapes.
He may still have them.
I still vividly remember that, you know, and it's and you know, so yeah, a lot's changed, and it's been fun to be a part of the change, and lucky for me, I was a young guy as the technology was kind of getting going, and so that obviously helped me being a young guy and getting my foot in the door. And it's the 10% rule, you know, find the guy you want to be like and take 10% off his plate, and do that for everybody that you can, and eventually you'll get more and more stuff, and then eventually you'll end up being that guy. So yeah, it was an exciting time for me for sure.
Yeah, and you think back to the guys that you mentioned, you know, in that little story. I mean, you know, great people, you know, Coach Holtz, Coach McNeil, but even the assistants like Rock and you know, they bring back memories from all those guys, because I've been fortunate enough to have this show for so long, and all those guys have been on this show, you know, doing the same thing you're doing today, to talk about the games, talk about their careers. I mean, it's really been enjoyable because I get to know these guys better by doing these interviews like this. And but just the names you were dropping, I mean, it just brings back great memories from Pirate football. And some of the years weren't great. Some of the years were great. But and you guys had a lot of success in your time at East Carolina. I mean, you had some very positive things happen while you were working with the Pirates.
Yeah, we did. And fortunately, you know, I learned early, and it was from, you know, Coach Ruff and those guys, and even Coach Holtz and them. I wasn't quite as involved just because of my ignorance and not knowing what really was going on. But you know, it's about recruiting the right guys, and you can't be lazy in recruiting. And a lot of those good players, you know, really, really help you win some games. And I was fortunate to be around some really, really good guys, and you know, some big wins, and some guys that'll, you know, remain in the record books for a long time here at East Carolina. So yeah, it was fun, grateful for the opportunity to be back, and you know, like we said, just every day trying to push to get us back to new heights.
Talking with Tripp Weaver, safeties coach at East Carolina. We'll take another commercial break right now. We'll come back. We'll talk about his room, the safeties, and how they've progressed this year through 4 games. Pirates at 2-2, heading to South Florida this weekend, we hope. Back with more on the Brian Bailey Show after this.
Better ingredients, better pizza, better brace yourself, because this right here is a Papa John's Papa Bowl. No crust, just piping hot toppings and melty cheese in an oven-baked bowl. Better ingredients, better pizza, now in a bowl. Papa John's.
Hey, Pirate fans, brace yourself for the brand new Papa Bowls for only $7.99. The new Papa Bowls are an MVP move for game day or any day. Place your order online at papajohns.com and sign up for Papa Rewards. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Go Pirates!
It's summer's last hurrah, and at Bostic Sugg Furniture, we're ending it in style with 3 ways to save on the most fashionable looks for your home. Save double the sales tax, plus 6 months special financing, plus 20% off accessories to complete the look. Change your mattress, change your life. Buy a mattress, get up to 48 months special financing. Plus, visit Facebook and ask about our Hot Buy store-wide. The sun may be setting on summer, but not the savings at Bostic Sugg Furniture.
BMS Builders is your premier custom builder in Eastern North Carolina. With homes in Blackwood, Mills Creek, Dalton's Cove and Farmville, and Belmar and Ayden, they're constantly expanding. Now to Laurel Glen and Sarah's Way, plus the new duplex community at Abigail Trails. BMS Builders can build the home of your dreams. Just ask Dr. Dennis Ross in Greenville or ECU football coach Mike Houston. They built their homes, and they can build yours as well. Call 916-1578 for BMS Builders.
Your vehicle is a big part of your life. That's why you should trust the team at Greenville Auto World for all your vehicle needs. Greenville Auto World believes in fair prices, superior service, and treating customers right. Visit GreenvilleAutoWorld.net to see their fully stocked inventory of SUVs, trucks, and cars. Need a lift kit, custom rims, or wheels? Greenville Auto World can upgrade your vehicle today. For sales or service, visit Greenville Auto World on Highway 43 in Greenville.
The Rick House is Eastern North Carolina's premier American-style restaurant and bourbon bar. Join us at the Rick House for mouth-watering steaks and made-from-scratch pastas. Check out the 16-ounce cowboy steak or the seafood delight pasta. Join us for our legendary brunch on Sundays from 10 to 2. The Rick House can feed your larger crowds with off-site catering and room for 125 in our adjacent banquet hall. The Rick House, American Provisions and Spirits, 710 Red Banks Road beside the bowling alley in Greenville.
This is Martin Truex Jr., and as a NASCAR Cup Series champion, I love one-stop shopping. When I need fresh tires or fuel during a race, my pit crew takes care of everything. Off the track, I have an auto owner's independent agent. They handle all my insurance in one place: car, home, life, and business. Get your own pit crew and find a local agency with auto owner's insurance.
This is Brian Smith with Town Insurance in Greenville. Call me today at 756-8300. Go Pirates!
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community-owned utilities mean local control, low rates, and high reliability. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back on this Monday. We've got Tripp Weaver on the line with us, the safeties coach at East Carolina, to talk Pirate football as we continue on at 2-2. East Carolina traveling down to Tampa, hopefully to take on South Florida. The game is scheduled for a 7 o'clock kickoff. Obviously, there's a hurricane burrowing down on the state of Florida this week, so we'll have to keep our eye on that situation. Coach, as far as the hurricane goes, do you guys talk to the kids at all about that, or is it just business as usual and you just kind of wait and see what happens?
You know what, really, and I'm going to go back to it, how Coach Houston builds a program. We control what we can control. And the thing we can control today as coaches is, get in here and have a great game plan ready for these guys. So when we meet on Tuesday, we're ready to roll. I'm sure they'll have questions and be anxious about it. But, John Gilbert and those guys do a great job of keeping us well-informed ahead of time so we can make plans and let them know. But, no, it's not going to be something that we talk a ton about because at the end of the day, wherever we play, that field's 100 yards long, and we got to go and execute out there on the football field.
All right, let's talk about your room a little bit with your safeties and the job that they've done so far this year. I'll drop some names with you, and some of these guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these guys play a little bit of corner and safety too, don't they?
You know what? Not specifically this year. We did have one guy that we moved to corner last year in Jawan Powell, and Jawan, made the move for us just kind of out of necessity with J-Mac leaving, and then obviously we have a pretty deep room at the safety position, so they have not played actual corner reps this season, any of those guys.
Okay, and on the depth chart, you're listing, the safeties that you list, and you got a couple of oars in there each week, it seems like. That's pretty much as they're interchangeable, right?
Yeah, that's true, and so, we try to keep a rotation on the guys, and if you look, and really all the guys on the defensive staff really do a great job, and the one that's probably the easiest to see is Coach Tesh when he rolls, all three of those guys in and out at the same time, but we try to keep the rep counts as close as we can at those order positions. Sometimes the game, plays out the way it plays, and a guy might get a 9 or 10 play series where the other guy gets a 3 and out, so sometimes that gets skewed, but the ultimate goal is to have starters that can play at a high caliber, and in that fourth quarter, your guys should be fresh. And if your guys are fresh, you should be able to play at a high level all the way through the game and really try to keep teams out of the end zone in the fourth quarter.
Through 4 games, Tegan Wilk is the leading tackler on the team. Talk about Tegan a little bit.
Tegan, he, really, really, really happy for Tegan. The maturity and the buy-in just to the process of what it takes to be a starter on a high-caliber defense in a high-caliber university and a high-caliber conference is something that a lot of people, don't see. It's a lot of time in the film room. It's a lot of time in the weight room. It's a lot of time in the training room, keeping your body right, especially the way that he plays. But just very, very proud of him. Happy for him, excited for him. Glad we got him on our team. Tegan is a high football IQ. And he has a high football IQ, so he can play fast. And when he gets there, the 3 things that we preach in our rooms: effort, violence, and discipline. And that violence piece, Tegan Wilk plays with that and does a great job with that.
Take us through Gerard Stringer through 4 games.
Gerard, I thought has had a good, quarter to the season, start to the season. Want to see him continue to progress and be the player. he should be an all-conference caliber player, and it's got to be every day, and he's doing a nice job of that. I thought he made some really good plays last week against Navy. I think his best game that he played was probably NC State. Had a little bit of lull in there in between, but, I thought he rebounded last week and played really well. Really excited for him. A guy that you talk about culture and why it's important to a team. Just a guy that's grown so much, has become a team leader for us, in the locker room, not just for the safeties, not just for the defense, but for the whole team. He sits on our leadership council that meets with Coach Houston every week. So just really, really proud of him. Fortunate to have him in the room, and he does a great job for us. Excited to see what he does this week.
Julius Wood, take us through his 4.
Yeah, Julius, last year was, last 4 games, kind of became a guy that was a rotational guy. Honestly, if we would have got to play in the Military Bowl, would have started at the field safety position versus Boston College until it got canceled. Just really happy for him. That process of coming from a junior college and then coming to learn, intricate schemes, that we run defensively takes time. And every player, especially one as talented as him, sometimes they lose sight of, the process it takes to get on the field. And one thing about Julius is he never complained, never batted an eye, and all he did was work. So to see him playing the way he's playing right now and kind of develop himself into that starter, extremely, extremely happy for him. Julius is a guy athletically that probably could play some corner for us if needed. That was kind of the conversation. Do you move him or do you move Juwan going into this year? But he's doing a great job for us. Really excited to have him on the team. And a guy that just genuinely loves football and loves teammates. So a great team guy, and look forward to him to continue to play at a high level.
Sharing time with Julius on your depth chart is Sean Dorsow.
Yeah, Sean Dorsow, he's played a lot of football for us, and, experience is something that you can't coach. And Sean has made some big plays for us, kind of a ball hawk mentality, always finds his way around the football in terms of interceptions, fumble recoveries, things like that. A guy that is interchangeable really at both spots because he has started at field safety and he started at boundary safety. So just a huge piece of what we're trying to do. Thought he's had a good year so far. Really excited for him, going down the stretch of him being able to play multiple positions and continue to be a guy that's a starter for us and playing at a high caliber.
And then Jairo Wilson.
Yeah, Jairo's a guy that we actually moved from the Sam position to the Buck position. Pretty tough transition. That just kind of speaks to his athletic ability, his football IQ, his mental state, just being a very intelligent young man. A guy that, last week I thought, probably played the best game that I've seen him play from a physicality standpoint. He had some big hits on some of those B-backs, and, that's tough to do. And he did it consistently, and really, really happy for him. He worked his tail off in the off season, working with Big John, and then he would get extra lifts and runs with Coach Farmer, an assistant we have in the weight room, and really just saw a huge growth from him as far as athletic ability and his body type and just mentality to play the position. So extremely excited for him. Like I said, thought he played his best game last week. He's going to have to do this. Excited to see him play.
Who are some of the others? There's a couple more on the depth chart, but some of the others, and then some of the young players that maybe haven't made the depth chart yet that may be helping out on special teams or that you look for in the future.
Yeah, 2 guys, that are on the depth chart and kind of been back and forth. Have been Demetrius Mooney. Demetrius Mooney had a good camp and really, really was progressing. Got hit with an injury late in camp, but a guy that, he's back out there now moving around really well. That's going to help us at some point this season, is going to play some football for us, and you guys will see him out there. Number 3. Another guy that we actually moved a few weeks ago because of some injuries was Mike Edwards. He was in Coach Harrell's room with the inside linebackers. He started a lot of games at Georgia Southern. So an experienced guy, just not necessarily in our scheme. Last night versus Navy, he had about 12 plays that he played. Played pretty well, so excited about Mike, excited about his future. A guy that's got 4 years left. So that's 2 guys at the same position. And then, at the safety position, Ty Moss, Brandon Higgs, are some guys that come to my mind. Devin King has had a really, really good year on special teams. Didn't get a chance to play much versus Navy, but did play versus Campbell, and a guy that, if he continues to progress, as the year goes on, will be a guy you guys see out there on the field making plays for us on the defense. So really excited about those 3 at the safety position.
All right, wrapping things up with Tripp Weaver. We certainly appreciate your time today. I know you got a game plan to get together for South Florida. Before we go on tape, you talked a little bit about it already, but what do you see offensively from South Florida? What are some of the things that you really concern you as you prepare this week and you get back with the team Tuesday and Wednesday with practice and that kind of thing? What are some of the things you see on film from the Bulls?
Well, the hardest thing to do is you always try to make an offense play left-handed, so to speak, and try to take away what their strength is. And, they got a running back, Brian Battie, we talked about. He averages 8.2 yards a carry. He ran for over 100 yards against the University of Florida, who have phenomenal players, great defensive coordinator. So he's the real deal, But the problem is you can't just stack the box and stop him because they have two receivers, that we talked about in Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn that are going to be back. Guys that missed last week versus Louisville. Just trying to get those guys, how are you going to defend, a team that can run the ball, that can throw the ball, and then you throw on top of the fact that the quarterback ran for over 100 yards versus the University of Florida, because then now you're talking gap scheme runs and +1 runs that sometimes can take you out of certain calls in certain situations to make sure you have enough guys in the box to stop the run. So very, very challenging opponent, very explosive offense. I talked about all those guys, and the next thing that their best thing might be their offensive line. DeMontre Jacobs, their right tackle. I mean, you're going to see him. He's a monster. He's 6'6", 310 pounds, and moves extremely well. They just got some guys that they brought in that are doing a really, really good job for them. You watch the University of Florida game, and there's not a whole lot of pressure. They're not getting to the quarterback a lot. So we talk about all these skilled athletes they got, but then those big boys up front are pretty dang good. So we're going to have our hands full. Going to try our best to make these guys play left-handed, and the guys that were at the game last year saw the kind of game it was. I mean, it was down to the wire, back and forth game, and we fully anticipate it's going to be the same thing this week.
And I know a Blake Harrell defense really wants to force a turnover or two, don't they?
Oh yeah, that's one thing that Coach Harrell he does a phenomenal job, especially inside of the ball meetings. He meets with the entire defense, and we ask him all the time. It's all about, and they say the ball, and those guys know that's important to us, create extra possessions for our offense, get us off the field, whether that's by a turnover or winning the third downs. We've got to do a better job of that. We haven't had quite as many these last 2 weeks as we want, and so that's going to be a point of emphasis this week. And we've got to do a great job with that in order to be successful defensively.
Tripp Weaver, safeties coach at East Carolina. Coach, we're going to let you go. I know you got lots to do to get ready for this next game. Certainly appreciate your time. Fascinating story, because you started from the lowest of lows as far as the totem pole goes, and you've risen up, and one day we'll see you on the sidelines as a head coach somewhere, won't we?
Well, you know what? That's not up to me. That's up to the decision makers. But you know what? If this is as good as it gets for me, then it's pretty damn good. So I'm just grateful for this opportunity and all the Pirates that allowed me to come back and help this happen.
He's worked for some great Pirates, and he's working for a great one right now with Mike Houston. But Tripp Weaver, the safeties coach at East Carolina, is most certainly a Pirate. Coach, good luck this week. We'll see you down in Tampa, hopefully.
Appreciate you, Brian. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Tripp Weaver, safeties coach at East Carolina. We'll take our final break. We'll come back with some closing thoughts on the Navy game, get you ready for South Florida. We'll tell you about the Tulane game to come, back to wrap things up on this Monday on the Brian Bailey Show right after this.
It's bow time. So it's game time, and you got a bunch of rabid fans.
Dad, we're hungry.
You head out to fire up burgers and dogs and go from grill master to MVP. Then you realize you're out of gas. Yup, out of gas on game day. What do? Drop a big bow box on it. Game on. Feed a family of 4 with 8 pieces of chicken, biscuits, fixins, and tea. It's bow time.
Hi, I'm Ken Hagler of Taft, Hagler. We're proud to be sponsors of the Brian Bailey Show and the Pirate Nation on Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation. If you've been injured on the job or due to someone else's negligence in an automobile collision, call us at 752-2000 for a free consultation with experienced professionals who care. Go Pirates!
Seared Chop House is Greenville's only true chop house. We're open 7 days a week. Seared combines a remarkable menu with an unrivaled atmosphere. Lunch or dinner at Seared is a quality-driven experience where we highlight a thoughtful approach to locally sourced ingredients and hearty, flavor-rich cuisine. We're firing up the grill at Seared, Greenville's only true chop house, located on Fire Tower Road at Bell's Fork. Come see us at Seared 7 days a week.
Hi, this is Jeff Charles, and welcome inside the booth. Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians is my favorite player, and I'll tell you why right after this. Just like Pepsi, Macy O'Donnell from Beaufort, born in Eastern Carolina.
It's that time of year again. Football season is upon us, and those of us that live in eastern North Carolina know what a special time of year it is. This is Landon Minges with Minges Bottling Group. I'm the fourth generation of my family to have the honor of distributing Pepsi-Cola products to my neighbors in eastern North Carolina. For over 75 years, my family has taken pride in this great responsibility, and we are proud to have remained locally owned and operated for over 7 decades. When you purchase a Pepsi in eastern North Carolina, you are supporting your community and keeping those dollars right here in your own backyard. Support local, drink Pepsi, go Pirates.
I don't think I have ever seen a smile on the face of Jose Ramirez, and that's why I like the 29-year-old Dominican and third baseman of the Cleveland Guardians. With all due respect, he kind of looks like a bulldog, and that's the way he plays. Here's another reason I like him. When he reaches base, I never see him yucking it up with the opposing first baseman. You see it every game. Jose wants to kick your tail every night. He doesn't have time for small talk. Of course, he is a terrific player, too. A career .279 batting average, 188 home runs, 643 runs driven in, 168 stolen bases, and defensively, one of the best at the hot corner. And here's another thing. He did not try and leverage his all-star status at contract time. The Guardians made an offer, he accepted, and said he wants to play his entire career in Cleveland, and isn't that refreshing? Guardians fans, you're lucky to have Jose Ramirez. Come back again next time, and we'll visit inside the booth.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, working for our community, not for shareholders. Now, back to the show.
All right, back to wrap up this edition of The Brian Bailey Show. Again, thanking Tripp Weaver, safeties coach at East Carolina. Had some really good things to say about his career at East Carolina. A guy who started as a student assistant with Coach Holtz and Coach McNeil, loved East Carolina. You know, he's a Pirate, and he got a chance to come back. I hooked up with Coach Houston before that, and then hooked up with Coach Houston at the Citadel and James Madison. Had a stint at Western Carolina, then came back with Coach Houston when Houston was hired by East Carolina as the head coach, and he's a natural fit for East Carolina. So he's a great hire and really good young coach that we'll hear lots from coming up later on throughout his career. Again, think back to Saturday night, Navy 23, East Carolina 20 in double overtime. Anytime a team is a big underdog and you let them hang around and you let them hang around, bad things sometimes happen, and that's exactly the case there. I was going to bring Clip Brock on just to talk about the overtime rules because, you know, when overtime started, I was kind of thinking, like, I know they changed these rules now. I'm trying to figure out exactly what they are. And I think Morgan Ehlers actually announced them very quickly. Then I was trying to decipher what he just said. But I don't think people would have really understood, you know, had we gone to a triple overtime and gone to the 2-point conversions. Do you?
Well, if they didn't know,
then they knew then.
Yeah.
And I think you guys talked about it on the postgame show is that Navy was set up for that. I mean, that's what Navy does. They get
2.5 yards,
3 yards a gain, and that's what they're set up to do. So I think that, you know, the further you go along in overtime, because those plays, you know, are just, you know, it's really tough when you have an offense spread out and you got to figure out if you're going to run or pass it, and Navy just comes right at you, and you just got to try to stop them in the best way you can on a 2-point conversion. Didn't come down to that because Daffer missed the field goal and the Pirates fell 23-20.
On our side, I wonder how many 2-point plays a week you have. You go into a game with, and at what point do you run out, have to call the same play, or start making stuff up on the fly? So it would have been an interesting situation. Since they went to those rules, East Carolina has not been in a situation like that.
What did you guys see on the Elijah Morris targeting? Because Did you guys see the replays on TV, that kind of thing?
I actually heard it, and I was en route.
Right.
And heard how awful it was from Jeff Charles, Kevin Monroe at company.
It was what I saw in person was awful, and then I saw the replay on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. That's when I really got mad when they showed it again, and it was a terrible call.
It's a situation now, and we got to get Daryl Harrison on, because Daryl's my man when it comes to officiating, and he can explain things. He always makes it sound better. But it's almost a situation, we just don't know what targeting is. If you make a tackle and your head's involved in any way, which your head is attached to your shoulders, so it's going to have to be involved in some way. But it seems like that we can't get it figured out what targeting is, what targeting isn't. And then to lose Elijah, the penalty's bad enough because they got the big sack. That was a big play in the first half. Then to lose him for the entire game, probably your best run stopper. I mean, that was just a huge play in the game. And I'm glad that Coach Houston and company sent whatever tape they can send to the American. I'm not sure how good that does. I think the American may get up there sometimes and just kind of say, okay, we got a stack of tapes over. Anybody want to look at them?
Probably
do they do anything with them? You hope they do.
I feel like they've done a better job of reversing calls that we're not targeting.
Right. That's what I thought was going to happen in that call because, as I said earlier, I was standing right by the replay official, and I thought, okay, surely this guy's going to see, But, again, it fascinates me that we have all this technology, and we got a guy looking at a 2-inch screen.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't we get him a bigger screen to look at? We can cover the screen if they can put him in the medical tent.
Hell, just look at the jumbotron.
Right. Look at the jumbotron because that's a better way to go. But I guess you say coulda, shoulda, woulda. Navy wins at 23-20 in double overtime. As we've said, South Florida, East Carolina, 7:00 kickoff down in Tampa. At the very least, right now is in doubt whether that game could be moved, whether it could be played. One of our listeners sent in a question and said, could they play that game on championship Saturday later in the season if neither one of those teams are involved in the championship? And I guess they could, but you got to get to a championship and you need that game to be played because hopefully at least one of those teams is involved in the race.
Did we do that with State one year?
Yes, did that with State. That's the year, I think it was 18, because that's the year I got asked to do the American Digital pregame and postgame show. So I was down in Orlando at UCF for UCF and Memphis in the championship game for the American. But that was the year.
That was a brutal day in Raleigh.
Yeah, it was. It turned out to be a brutal day. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about some of the high school games that have been switched to Thursday already, and more to come most likely. Around Eastern North Carolina, Dixon at West Carteret, South Lenore, James Keenan, Richlands at Swansboro, New Bern at South Central will play Wednesday, Southwest Onslow at Kinston, and Green Central at Aiken Grifton, all to be played Thursday, and we expect more to come. So we expect a rainy end of the week to come, and hopefully the Pirates will get a chance to play the Bulls of South Florida. All right, that's our show for this Monday. We certainly appreciate you joining us and listening as always, and we'll, of course, be back next week with another edition of The Brian Bailey Show. So long, everybody.
This has been The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, and also brought to you by
Angus Grill, Bostic Sugg Furniture, Bojangles, East Coast Grading, Papa John's, Pepsi, The Rick House, Greenville Utilities, BMS Builders, Seared Chop House, The Gavigan Agency, Taft and Hagler, Tiebreakers, and Greenville Auto World.
Join us next week for another edition of The Brian Bailey Show, right here on Pirate Radio.